Most people in the finishing well season move into survival mode and they try to make life as comfortable as possible. But we can have eternal purpose and meaning until the day we die.
And you are now working with 70-year-olds, your age, 50-year-olds, your sons in the legacy, who are now going through half-time. Now you having gone through half-time, gone through significance, come to wisdom years, of these restful years, shalom years, green past years, if I may, finishing well years, you can help them through half time, which is a tough time. Yes, showing them that they can still thrive. Then you may need to help them with the 30-year-olds. The 30-year-olds who you may have begotten, or you may have worked with them for some time, may still look up to you, and you will consistently have wisdom for them when they get restless and when they feel we don't want to do what the 50-year-olds are saying. Yes, 50-year-olds would be the zillennials, the bridge generation, and the 30-year-olds will be the real millennial and the post-millennial generation. Then of course don't forget there are 15-year-olds for different reasons, your own grandchildren or grandchildren of those who are with whom you have walked all your life. And don't forget that generation, especially with COVID times and too much online stuff, even online studies, they have lost a lot of school, fun, activity. They may need your kindly help, so don't forget about it. So you are into 4th generational, remembering that Abraham said in the 4th generation you will inherit the land, and many of you in your nations still you can be quite influential. You may know the head of state, you may know decision makers out there in different places, so you are not done and out. You will be still leading some ventures, having handed over quite a few others that you began to your successors, and hopefully you would have led. We must lead in a way, this is hindsight wisdom, we must lead in a way knowing that those whom we are handing over to will be leading us in a decade's time. This is so with our children also, because they will also be leading us in some ways when we grow older.
So if you look at your life and think the best years is over now, you're probably not going to finish well, because you cannot finish well when you are going backward. You still have to look forward and dream about the future. It is true that you can retire from a job, but you can never retire from your calling. Your calling may even change, but you can't retire from your calling.
One of the first images that comes to my mind when this topic is brought up is actually that of not finishing well. You see, I was a sprinter in high school on my track team. I ran the 100 and the 200 meter events. At one particular meet, our coach came to us, sprinters, and said, one of the 400 meter runners can't compete today. Would one of you take his place? I looked around at the other sprinters expecting one of them to quickly volunteer, and when they didn't, in an effort to try to impress my coach and these other runners, I said, I'll run the race. Now, I expected to finish well. I expected actually to win the race. And so when the gun went off, I passionately pursued that expectation. And at the 100 meter mark, I was leading the race. At the 200 meter mark, I was leading the race. At the 300 meter mark, as we rounded that turn, I hit a wall. I don't actually remember finishing the race. I'm sure I did, but I didn't finish well. In contrast to my experience, I have this picture of finishing well of a runner, particularly a long distance runner, who is crossing the tape across his chest, arms raised, big smile on his face, passionate about finishing well, actually at a pace faster than he began the race. That may not be your picture, but whatever your picture is of finishing well, the question that I want to ask you today to consider is, how do you go about actually finishing well? What's involved in finishing well? And the idea that I would want you to consider today, that is in order to finish well, we need vision and we need preparation. On the idea of vision, I'd like you to consider the following ideas.
First of all, you need to spend time with your successor, making sure that he or she is ready to take over.
The living legacy that we've been about establishing in this significant season of our life is now to be propelled forward by those who will follow after us. These who we've identified, these who we've discussed that succession with, and these who we have taken steps to pass off authority and position. This is the time for successors to take over, and therefore our concentration needs to be on mentoring those successors and imparting our life wisdom to them. In my life, God has given me several great examples of men that have finished well. They've motivated me, they've challenged me, they've encouraged me to follow their example. One of those I've never met. I look forward to the day that I actually get to meet him. That he is the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul knew that his life was about to end as he sat in prison in Rome, knowing he was about to leave, realizing that now was the time for him to impart his wisdom and knowledge to those he'd identified as successors, and wrote to one of those successors what we know as 2 Timothy. The actual subject or theme of 2 Timothy is finishing well. And in that book, Paul gives great advice and exemplifies what it means to finish well. And I'd encourage you, in this season of your life, or in preparation for this season of your life, study the book of 2 Timothy and glean the wisdom that Paul gives there.
But I'm suggesting that you would have another level of table with the 50s, the 30s, and the 15s. Of course, you are not intruding because the 50s are in the driving seat now. But you are valuable co-worker, senior partner has changed now, but you are still watching for, as I told you before, where you can pitch in with help.
I think this is a time to look carefully to your health. We all know to have good health is grace of God, but it's also hard work. It's hard work to live well, to eat well, to sleep well, to rest well, to have no stress or less stress. It is also hard work to exercise, do exercise.
So I want to suggest to you, don't become a couch potato, don't increase your television viewing time. That's not a healthy activity. Keep your brain supple and new neuronal networks connecting by doing card games, board games, take aim games like carom, and any physical activity to the extent you can is always good. A quick return game like table tennis, don't sprain your ankle, don't hurt your spine. But some measure of activities like that, if you are in a confined apartment, I have said this before, the kind of matting that goes on a cricket field, it's a coir woven carpet kind of thing with coconut fiber you may have in your country another fiber, and on that hang the cricket ball and take a cricket back and do your 15 minutes of what you did as a cricketer long ago. Take aim, tuck, barefooted, so that your feet are catching on the friction, which is always good for the brain. So to keep your fingers and your toes moving. With whatever gardening, even an aquarium, the small thing, playing cricket, playing football with your grandchildren or whatever, tennis of course, different things. But even in your home, even in COVID times, you can make a gymnasium, 2 poles together, depending on your age, 2 poles together, and on the poles, if you put coir roping, then you get a grip on it and some movement, and with the coir woven carpet down there with barefooted, increase your ability to do physical exercise without having to go to a gym. That's the idea. If you have a stretch of turf where you dig it up a little, say you dig up half a foot and 2 feet wide, and if you're able to fill it with sand, sand is a geometric particle that God created, and it holds the sea from coming in, it can take a lot of force. So the sand, the geometric particle, when it touches your feet, you remember the sand pit we used to get little fellows to do one? Even your grandchildren can use it, and you do a vigorous walk up and down on it. Barefooted, yes. It has good brain feedback activity. Reduce your screen time, please, after 6 p.m. After 6 p.m. your melatonin, it starts working to give you good brain health.
But also to look at your mental health, at your emotional health, relationship health, and spiritual health.
One thing more, always get over bitterness fast, otherwise you go into the amygdala, is bottom-up regulation. Last bad thing keeps worrying you, or the last thrilling thing keeps doing deja vu over and over again. That's why you must not be too much on the on any television screen, because you begin to live off a memory that happened in the past. You must think for yourself, think and do stuff. So board games, card games, even with your wife only. If your grandchildren are there, great. If children visit you, whatever it is, find things to do analytically, creatively. Art is a great thing to do, whatever art form. If you're a carpenter like me, you can make a few things, and generally working around the house, walking around the house, helping around the house, all these keep brain smart.
But it is important for me, both for stress relief and just for ongoing energy and for the ability to complete the course that God has for me, that I maintain that healthy physical life.
It is also a time to address all unfinished business, and you need, for instance, to forgive other people if you still have to forgive other people. You have to have no regrets.
I have a regular practice, an inventory that I do with God, and I'll ask Him questions like this. Is there anybody that I still need to forgive? Is there anybody that I'm angry with?
Most important is now, at this stage of your life, you have more time to spend time in communion with God.